Hello, I am Stephanie Joy, the attorney at All Things Social Security and Joy Disability Law. Your video is about to start. I just wanted to remind you that if you click the join button below, you can learn more about the memberships offered at a very affordable price that can give you a little more direct attorney answers to your questions. Have a great day and enjoy the video. Hey, all. We have a couple, almost like a dichotomy of a couple comments with regard to age and the sequential evaluation process that affects how Social Security disability or SSI cases are decided. We can all, discuss how we think some things are too rough, too this, too that, or simply not evaluated correctly. But aside from that, I was just watching some comments, and I think I responded to them, but it was, one is saying, and I think it was in response to a video about not winning, the onset date of a person who prevailed was not when they said they were disabled. It was at age 55. So let's say they had to stop working at 53 due to severe physical problems, and they could not win. And we have a video on how that happened, and why, and how it was appealed and stuff. And if they later on, they did win on recon, but with the age 55. So the onset date alleged was not accepted, and the age 55 date was, which was a significant loss of back benefits, tens of thousands of dollars, because it's a pretty high income earner, manual labor, construction, union probably. So one person said, why is disability based on age? That's not fair. It should be based on disability. And so my response to that is, it is based on disability. It's just that there's a recognition of a biological, science-wise, general rule about what happens to our brains as we age and our ability to adjust to other work and transfer skills from our old job to a new, totally different job. So that is where that loosening up of sorts comes in after the age of 50, very minorly, a little bit more at 55, a little bit more after that at age 60. But in any event, all those age groups still have to prove that they have severe limitations. Okay. And in the end, these things all come together and figure out whether they are disabled or not. And that's usually when we're talking about the grids. Okay. The other person, so this is interesting, was talking about age discrimination in a little slightly different way, when industries age discriminate in hiring. Now, I'm not a discrimination lawyer, so I can't speak specifically. I do recall, of course, the law school days and all that good stuff, but it's been a long time. We have discrimination laws against age discrimination. In fact, we do. And just like we have against race and gender and all this other stuff. If it has not changed, and I am not doing the research on this, folks, it was a protection that a 40 to 70-year-old, so between the ages of 40 and 70, one was protected by not, being treated differently in the workplace based on age. After 70, it could be done without violating this discrimination law. And I'm talking federal. I'm not going into whether states have different ones, because there's 50 states and they could all be different. And under 40, you could be discriminated against based on age. So it was just that, I guess they're thinking the middle to upper, but not too upper. So the particular person was talking about the tech field and how, interestingly, like AI, I suppose, how they quickly scan resumes, figure out how old you are, and don't even give you a callback or any kind of response if you are not within whatever age, but he doesn't clarify what age he thinks that might be. I definitely think, despite age discrimination laws, it is rampant. Oh my goodness, for sure. Yeah. It's probably the only one I think is rampant of the illegal discriminations, because it just is. So, and I will say it because I think it happens in the legal field quite a bit. I remember in a recruiting position when I was first hanging my shingle and taking on projects and short-term assignments and just trying to figure it all out. So separately from my practice, and this is back when I was still doing New Jersey state law, running around like a crazy person. So if back then, the rumor always was that, oops, sorry, someone just handed me some documents. The rumor always was that if you were out of law school, or working for yourself for more than 10 years, I think it was 10. That was just like, this is not official, of course, because if anyone put anything in official, they'd be, you were kind of like not going to be getting that very easily, get the next job. If you had a book of business or a really stellar expertise that was not run of the mill. So if you came from maybe a particular kind of, and I'm just going to pull this out of my rear side, like patent law or something very meticulous, maybe with a dual major with something else, that might be different, because those are not a dime a dozen, right? But otherwise, and I remember in the recruiting industry, and I was only there for a very short time, comments being made, like almost laughing, like, that person's been out 8 years, and they really think they're never gonna get a job. I'm like, that's horrible. They would get a job, I'm sure. It would just be low paying. Like they probably would make more without their law degree. That's how bad it was in the 90s. This is part of the reasons I went on my own so long ago. But there was more to it than that. But age discrimination, oh my, it's all over the place. There's seniority, probably discrimination too, which might not be based on age, but might be based on the amount of salary you're expected to demand given your experience. If your experience is vast. I've heard about this in the medical industry. Get rid of the older nurses with all the experience, who you and I might trust better to be taking care of us in a hospital setting or emergency, to get that young little nurse who will make far less per hour because they have less experience, and they can get their numbers in on the number of nurses needed for the quotas for the patients. So absolutely, I think age discrimination, again, sometimes it's more based on salary, which I would not, it's unfortunate, but that's a business decision based on money outlay. I need 3 people and I only have 150,000. They can each get 50,000. I can't give that whole $150,000 to get one person, which might be what a more experienced person would be demanding. So that actually to me seems legitimate. That's flat out numbers. That's not like, I don't like old people and I don't like those middle-aged. So it's tough. Now with the tech thing that was brought up, I do know that could also be a seniority thing and an expectation of higher salary. Because I know tech people that have that, a lot of it's project management. So things are really never as stable as they would probably like. And they complain that they're expected to accept this X rate if they want the job. But I'm worth more than that. Well, guess what? The job doesn't pay more. So is that an age discrimination? Probably not. That's probably a way, like a numbers thing. We have this much to spend. We need 3 people. So we can only offer this much per salary, take it or leave it. That might also be true in the legal field, but I do know there is a factor about, and one of the reasons why I know in the legal field, it was kind of like, oh, they're not going to hire somebody with more than blah, blah, blah years because, and there could always be a money reason. However, I understood it to also be because they want younger people, less experienced people. So does that mean age or just experience? So that they can, A, not come in with their own habits. They are moldable. They're more readily going to swallow everything we try to get them to do. You know, so, and that could be like some slippery little ethics, you know, a younger lawyer might be, you know, more easily snowed. You might get more hours out of them. The older one with more experience might be like, no, it's 7 o'clock at night. I think I'm going home to have dinner with my wife at 8. Do you mind? Or, you know, hug my kids and put them to bed. But whatever the case may be, I think younger people are more easily manipulated. Sorry, young people. I was one of you as well. I did see the light, however, though, when I actually got out. And I think I was still in my 20s when I did that. But anywho, the age factor, there has also been questions about, well, yeah, I might be able to physically do that job, but no one's going to hire me because of my age. So SSD should give me disability. They cannot do that. Can you imagine if they gave everyone disability because they couldn't get a job because these industries engage in age discrimination? There would be no fund. Social Security would be gone. Fact. But all that is true. Age discrimination does exist out there, but the Social Security Administration and the rules cannot accommodate that. But what they can do, and it's very, very, very important, and I'm incredibly grateful for it, is those grid rules that start to kick in once for 50. Doesn't really help 48-year-olds though with the age discrimination, and there is, for sure. So, but if you think you're discriminated against, guys, what do? You go to a discrimination lawyer. You know, the age discrimination laws, go for it. I would, you know, if the shoe fit. Obviously, you have to have your ducks in a row. You're gonna have to, you know, figure out ways to prove it, but that is the avenue you go to. Might be the EEOC first, and then, you know, if they allow you to file or whatever. I don't even remember the rules, but I used to have to delve into them a little bit. All right, so interesting interplay between age, the physical rules with the grids, the other more esoteric stuff out in the world around us, the realities of age discrimination in the workplace totally exist. Probably in every field, except maybe if you're fine to be like a grandma something, maybe. Right? There's probably some. All right, guys. Talk to you later.